me give you a fun shot.
Hi. Hi. Hi.
That's going on the internet. That's how we reach people. Where are my buddies? Where's the Lovejoy family? Where are they? Hey, I'm glad you guys made it. Good to see you. Thanks, Lou, for picking them up. Lou offered his services to pick the Lovejoy family up. They've been wanting to come for a while. So now we have a transport van, and he's handling that. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, this study is going to be a big one. This is a big study. It seems that there's an awful lot going on in this world, and it's getting overwhelming for a lot of people. So if you just look at the heading on this study, you'll see it's called The Dark Pit of Depression. Wow. Depression is a serious thing, and I've dealt with it. I'm still dealing with it sometimes. But I know there's an awful lot of people struggling with depression, and we just want to talk about it because it is so serious. Listen to what it says in the book of Psalm 40. It says, the darkness of depression forms a deep, ugly pit that becomes a prison of paralyzing fear and indescribable loneliness. We were created for the light. The Father stands ready to set us free. God does stand ready to set us free. And I want to tell you, as much as I believe in God's infinite abilities to heal and to fix, I also believe that God supplies sometimes proper physicians. And you need to know that that's what I believe. It's the truth. I believe that sometimes we need more help, and God will provide treatment and treatment centers, but there's a lot of different ways to handle depression. The one way isn't to do it on your own. The one way is not to think that you can deal with it yourself. Cry out for help. Get help. Ask somebody. Don't think that you can handle it by yourself, because you can't. Just listening to this one description in Psalms, it forms a deep, ugly pit that becomes a prison of paralyzing fear and indescribable loneliness. Listen to that description. It fast becomes a swirling whirlpool that will suck you down. I've been there more than once, and I didn't like it, and there didn't seem to be a way out. It caused a lot of helplessness and hopelessness in my life. And we're going to talk about it because it's genuine. From the director of music, this is a psalm of David. It says this, I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord. We have to, truth number one on your study sheet, we have to understand what depression is. It's important for us to understand what depression is. Depression has no single cause. It often results from a combination of many things. You may have no idea why depression has struck you. Whatever its cause, depression is not just a state of mind. It's related to a physical change in the brain. And it's connected to an imbalance of a type of chemical that carries signals to your brain and your nerves, and these chemicals are called neurotransmitters. When we stay down and low long enough, there's different chemicals that form in our body that get adjusted or maladjusted, and we need to be aware of it. Some of the more common factors involved in depression are this: family history. Maybe something happened in your family. Genetics play a part in it. Genetics play an important part, and it can run in families for generations. My family has, that I know of, 3 generations of suicides, including my oldest brother, my mom's father, and from what I understand, his father. So that makes 4 generations, doesn't it? It's real. Now I've got cousins on my mother's side of the family who, one of my cousins committed suicide. One of my cousin's sons is struggling with suicide and depression right now. I can't say it enough. You can't deal with it alone. If there's somebody in your family that's dealing with depression, get help for them. Get help for you if you're dealing with it. Find somebody to talk to. Trauma and stress can cause depression. Things like financial problems, the breakup of a relationship, the death of a loved one. You can become depressed after changes in your life. Maybe you just lost a career. Maybe you just got a new career that became stressful, overwhelming. Starting a new job, graduating from school, or getting married. All these things can play a role because they form a sort of stress that we're not accustomed to. Sometimes a pessimistic personality will lead to depression. Have you ever heard somebody that's constantly down on everything? I know I call it PPMS, and I know there's a way out of it. I've discovered that God helped me with my depression. I discovered that faith is a key factor with my depression, but I'm saying my depression because everybody's depression is going to be slightly different. My oldest brother, who's dealing with depression, when I was 18 years old or so, he started to try to take his life. We got him in treatment. They did find a chemical imbalance, and he needed medication, and he needs medication the rest of his life. Do I believe God can heal that? Yes. Do I also believe God supplied the correct doctors and medication? Yes, I believe that as well. I know people who have bipolar disorder, who have depression, who have issues, and try as they might to totally depend on God, the reality seems to be that when they get off their meds for about 30 to 90 days, they start getting squirrely. They start to thinking they're okay, and they're not. If you get on a regimen of medication prescribed by a doctor and it's helping you, please don't come to the point where you think you've got it handled and stop taking the meds unless the doctor tells you to. Please. I'm looking around, there's an awful lot of somber faces here right now. This is a serious thing, isn't it? I can tell that every single one of us has been touched by depression in our lives, one way or the other. All I'm saying is, don't give up trying. Take every avenue. Don't assume that a prayer only is going to help. Please. I'm saying that out of experience. I've prayed for people, and they've taken their lives because they didn't want to seek any other help. I'm going to trust God only. Well, I understand that mentality, but God supplies physicians and medication sometimes. You need to be open to that. Don't be so spiritually minded that you know earthly good. Please. Don't be so open-minded that your brains fall out on the floor either. Use your brain. God gave us a mind to think with for a reason. People who have a low self-esteem and a negative outlook are at higher risk for becoming depressed. These traits can actually be caused by low-level depression called dysthymia. I don't know how to say it. It's a medical term. Dysthymia. Physical conditions, serious medical conditions, heart disease, cancer, HIV can contribute to depression. When you feel helpless and hopeless, you feel like there's no way out, it can contribute to depression. Other physical orders, anxiety disorders, eating disorders, schizophrenia, and substance abuse often appear along with depression. We have, one of the reasons I'm sure this study is coming up is because of the recovery center that we work with. There's an awful lot of people who end up on drugs, addicted to painkillers, addicted to some sort of drug or an alcohol, trying to self-medicate their depression, their anxiety, their bipolarism, their whatever's going on, OCD. It seems so much easier to just go out and feel good for a while.